Yeah. Ooh. What's poppin'? What's happening? Welcome back. If you clicked on the video, thanks. I appreciate that. But I kind of wanted to make a video talking about Overwatch, or perhaps like a little message to the Overwatch community, simply because I enjoy the game and I really do like the experience that that game offers. There's no other game that offers like the experience of playing a hero the way Overwatch does. I think it really encapsulates um, the gameplay feel of playing a certain hero, and like the way the game feels through that hero is really good, and I really enjoy that. And I consume a lot of content. I watch a lot of things. I listen to a lot of people. Um, and I wanted to make a video talking about it to kind of offer my perspective, because it seems that the community at large is generally unhappy with Overwatch 2. Now, I could be wrong, because the algorithm feeds me what content it thinks I want to see, so I might just be getting all the negative content. I have no idea. But I wanted to hop on here and kind of give my perspective on how things are, and it's going to be a little bit of a ramble fest. I'm going to be yapping a little bit for sure. Um, because I don't script my videos, and that's just how I like doing them. So let's hop right in. Now, I played Destiny for like 11 years. I still play it. And I know what you're thinking. What the heck does me playing Destiny have to do with Overwatch? And it's simply just because they're both live service games. And I just wanted to give a little perspective as to why things don't seem like they're going in any direction that everyone enjoys. I know there's a big debate between 5v5 and 6v6. I won't even bother getting into that. But what I want to point out is that while, yes, the devs are largely like what you look at when it's like, dude, the game sucks, devs, please do something, and the devs are like, don't worry, we're doing something, and then they do something and it still sucks. People are just, you'd naturally be like, devs, yo, what the heck, what's going on? But one thing you need to look at is, and the only reason I know this is from playing and absorbing content from Destiny for so long, is you got to think about the suits upstairs. The suits upstairs, those people that look at graphs, percentages, numbers, all day. That's what they do. They look at all that stuff and they make decisions on what they think will get them more profit, and make decisions of getting rid of stuff they think will give them less profit. Their goal is profit. That's always what it is. And the thing that sucks about that is the devs may want to do something that they think will ultimately help the game. But if the suits up top look at it and they think, this is a bad business decision, they'll just tell them no, and the devs can't do anything about that. Yes, the devs should have agency to make changes and change the game how they want. So the devs are definitely to blame for certain problems in the game, but it also might be the suits upstairs. Don't forget about that. And the thing that sucks the most about that is the only way to get the suits upstairs to listen is you have to stop playing the game. I only know this because during Destiny's life cycles, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and the devs are very passionate at Bungie about making the game fun for everyone. And recently, they had the whole fiasco with Lightfall, and then Final Shape came out. Final Shape was a banger, but the devs were literally begging the people upstairs for the changes that the players were begging them for, and the devs wanted to give the players the changes that they wanted, but the suits upstairs simply just said no, and there was nothing they could do about it, and then the devs took the blame and the heat for it. So while, yes, I don't know what percentage Overwatch's systems, because obviously they're two different companies, two entirely different games, but they're both live service, that's the similarity. I think that's important to look at that kind of stuff, because while no one's going to know and will never know because they rarely tell you what's going on at the company, I don't know what percentage of the devs are to blame for why the game doesn't feel great, or what percentage of the upstairs people making decisions is why the game isn't feeling great. Because the only way to get the people upstairs to listen, like I said, is you have to stop playing the game. And it is free to play, so even if you still played, that's fine, but you have to stop spending money. That's the only way they listen. That's unfortunately how big changes get made. That's what happened every time at Bungie, is things were going good, they made some dumb changes, players were like, that's not cool, and eventually everyone's like, the player counts just dropped, and then they're like, oh crap, we got to do something. And so the suits upstairs are like, do whatever you think to get the players' trust back, because the devs know, because they've been communicating well. Now that all that's out of the way, that's just the perspective I wanted to give you. So if you click off the video here, thanks for making it up to this point. quick cut there because I lost my train of thought. But next topic, I want to talk specifically about the dev team, and more specifically the communication from the dev team. Because if when I look at it and when I'm reading articles and stuff that they put out for where the game's going or what they're talking about in the game, it feels very, very lackluster. And it leaves a horrible taste in players' mouths, especially the dedicated players who have been stuck with the game through everything that it's been through. It is such a disservice to those people to not acknowledge all the hot topics going on in the community. I'm not saying they have to openly talk about everything. I'm not saying they have to address everything that is ever brought up in their community, but when there's hot topics, for example, like the 5v5 and 6v6 debate going on there, to not even acknowledge its presence is horrible. Like, what are you doing, dude? It is such a bad idea to come out and say that you're going to communicate more effectively and the community deserves better and we're going to put more resources into like the multiplayer after the PvE got canceled, which should be like all of their resources. To not acknowledge hot topics going on in the community, you don't even have to make changes. All you have to do is come out and say, hey, we know this is going on. We know a lot of players are talking about this. There's a lot of conversation going on. We wanted to come out and just address this really quick. We'll see where we're going. This is our vision. Blah, 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 yada, yada. However they want to deal with that. To just ignore it is so disrespectful and so distasteful for the fans of the game. And I only play it casually now. When Overwatch 2 started and it came out, I was grinding comp again. I was getting back into it. I was enjoying it. But I think once I saw a 15-minute queue time, I just kind of like, it's hard for me to want to wait that long to go into a match, lose a team fight, and then people flame each other. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, but you probably are. There's a lot of toxic players inside of the competitive community. That's a different topic entirely, but it is there. It does happen, and so I'm like, I don't want to deal with any of that. I'm just going to go play quick play because I'm still addicted to the feeling that the experience the game provides, and that's just kind of where I'm at with the game right now with every change that they've made. But I just wanted to touch on real quick that the dev team's communication feels very lackluster to me. It might not to you. But to me, that's just what it feels like based off of my experiences with everything that I've been through. Alrighty, let's move on to the last part of the video. If you watched it this far, I appreciate it. But I just had some ideas I wanted to throw out here at the end of how to possibly improve the game. I am by no means an Overwatch expert. So these are just my opinions. And if you think they're trash and they think they're dog water, that's okay, man. I don't really care too much. So let's jump right in. Personally, let's start with tanks. I think that there is too much responsibility on the tank and there's too much attention on the tank. What do I mean by that? Let's start right at the beginning of Overwatch 2 when they went from 2 tanks to 1 tank. Logically thinking, if you went from 2 of one type of player to 1, they now have the responsibility of both of those players. So, logically thinking, you would buff them up, make them bigger, make them stronger to handle that responsibility load. It makes sense, but the problem that creates is now all the attention is on that player because they are so much bigger and so much stronger that they are the largest threat on the battlefield. But the problem that you hit with that is because they're the biggest threat on the battlefield always, all the attention is always focused on them, which is why it feels like tanks always explode, because it's really hard to take the attention away from the tank because they're the big bad. Like if a tank isolates a support or a DPS in a team fight, they manage to isolate them, the odds that that tank is going to win against the DPS or support is almost guaranteed right now. I'm not saying it's impossible. Some of you might be the GOAT DPS or support, but the tank, more often than not, is going to win that, almost guaranteed. I think the tanks should have the advantage in that isolated 1v1, but it should not be a guarantee that they're going to win. If you play spacing correctly or whatever hero you want, if you are the more skilled player, you should be able to do that. But right now, even if you're a more skilled DPS or support and you're isolated against that tank, even if the tank is a lower skilled player, the tank is still probably going to win that, which is not good because it draws all the attention on the tank. So how do we go about alleviating some of that? And these are just my opinions. Personally, I feel like the tanks need to be smaller. Their hitboxes need to be reduced. and then I feel like their health pools need to be reduced, closer to what Overwatch 1 was. I don't know how you balance all this out, but there needs to be less attention forced onto them because they're so big. Um, I do believe the tanks should have the agency to move around the battlefield how they please, but the problem they run into is because they're so big, all the CC gets thrown at them, and it's very hard for any of that CC to miss because, giant walking circle, essentially, right? So if you make their hitboxes smaller and you make their health pools smaller, they're less of a threat. They'll still get focused because they're the only tank, but they should have more agency to move around. So tanks have the knockback reduction passive, right? I think that just needs to be a CC reduction passive for all CC in the game. So as the tank player, your tank ability is you can move around freely how you want to without getting smacked down by every CC that the enemy team decides to throw at you to stop you from doing what you're trying to do, because that feels like horrible gameplay loop to play, right? So that's a knob that I feel like the devs could adjust instead of it being knockback, just a CC reduction across the board. I feel like that opens up a lot more playmaking for the tank, and depending on how that knob is adjusted, and since there's only one of them, it frees them up to, like, sure, they will still absorb all that CC, but it won't just be like, boom, they got hit with all 5 players CC and now they're dead, right? That's what kills the tank right now, is just getting CC'd into the ground. So they should have a reduction on that, and it would balance out because they have a smaller health pool, a smaller hitbox, so they have more agency to freely move across the battlefield. I think that'll help them with the explodiness. I'm not too sure how it would play out, though. Next, I want to touch on all the passives in the game real quick, and just kind of how I feel about them. The headshot reduction for tanks, with my idea for how to rework the tank, it might be nice there, it might not be needed, I'm not too sure. And then the DPS passive for reduced healing, because the tank is a lot easier to kill, it might not need to be in the game as well. I think it's kind of dumb. They should probably remove that. And then the passive healing for all the heroes, I think that's a really good change. I've been a big fan of that change. I really like that if the player chooses to utilize that, there's a lot of value to be gained from it, and it sort of adds to the dynamic of how the game is played, so I'd keep that. And then lastly, the last idea that I had that I want to touch on is ultimate abilities. Personally, I feel like ultimate abilities should be ultimate abilities. Not the end-all, say-all, they use the ultimate, your team's now dead, right? There needs to be an exchange there, but I don't think neutral abilities should override ultimate abilities or how would they affect the game. I think a properly executed ultimate should be able to get value regardless of what happens on the battlefield if the player is skilled enough to know how to properly execute, right? So my idea is ultimate damage should be a form of like true damage. So it overrides immunity effects, it overrides the damage reduction you get from armor. It's just true damage. It's if you, for example, on Genji Blade, if you swing and it hits for 110, it's going to hit for 110 regardless if they're Suzu'd, if they're underneath a lamp, if they have armor, you're going to take 110 damage regardless of what happens. That way ultimates feel like they have to be respected more, and you can't just like, we're out in the open, someone popped an ult on us, I'm just going to throw a lamp down and then we're all going to run away, or depending on what hero you're facing, right? It gives a lot more value to ultimates, because I feel like some ultimates are very lacking. Now, it would probably break some of the other ultimates, but I feel like they can be adjusted from there. But using an ultimate ability and then having it completely shut down because someone pressed a button against you with one of their kits, it doesn't feel good. And I feel like they should have a lot more potency inside of the game. Not an end-all be-all, but it should be more potent. That's basically all the ideas that I had. If you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate you watching all the way through. If you think my ideas are dumb and they're stupid, feel free to let me know down below. Everyone can do what they want. Feel free, I insist. But that's all for me. That's all I had rocking around in my head, and I wanted to make this video, so thanks for watching. See ya.